Welcome to Starkey Sound Bites. I'm your host, Dave Fabry, Starkey's Chief Hearing Health Officer. So today, this is really a special and a long awaited opportunity to talk with our two guests. We are thrilled to be announcing an exclusive partnership with MED-EL, the industry's leading technology provider of cochlear implants. And this collaboration that we're engaging with MED-EL is called DualSync. And it really is designed specifically at the beginning here to be a collaboration that enables individuals to have a MED-EL implant on one side, a Starkey hearing aid on the other, pair and be identified with Apple technology as a paired device so that they can hear, we say bimodally, with acoustic in one ear and electric in the other, and enable them to stream. And that was really the genesis of this partnership, but I think, as we like to say, we're just getting started with this. So we look forward to a long and fruitful partnership. And the two people that we've got today are the perfect people to be sitting in the chairs next to me. John Sparacio, the President and CEO in the US, and Krista Bramlet, the VP of Sales. So welcome to both of you to Starkey Sound Bites.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
It's my pleasure. So, Krista, why don't you start? Talk a little bit about your role, how long you've been with MED-EL, and what are your initial thoughts as we start to engage in this conversation?
Yes, so my role is VP of Sales and also have some education in that role as well. I've been at MED-EL about 1.5 years, but have over 20 years in the implant space, and really excited about this partnership with all the synergies that we have. We definitely have had a need to find a hearing aid partner for our recipients, and really excited about Starkey being that partner for us.
We are too. John, talk about your role and your tenure, and just your thoughts on this as we dive in.
Sure. I've been with MED-EL about 2.5 years. Krista and I worked together previously in the hearing health space, so I've had the pleasure of getting back together again. So in my initial 6 months in this role, one of the things, as I was visiting with customers and talking to people and talking to some of our recipients, one of the things that came up over and over and over again was their desire for us to have a tighter integration with an acoustic amplification company, a hearing aid company. So it quickly rose to the top of my priority list, and I'm happy to say that's one of the reasons we're sitting here today.
Fantastic. Well, for those people who aren't familiar, a lot of our audience is audiologists who are used to working in the hearing aid space, but less familiar with the cochlear implant space. Now, in my background, I worked at Mayo Clinic for quite a few years and also at the University of Miami. I'm very well familiar with MED-EL. It always seemed to me like it was an ideal partner for Starkey to engage with as two privately held companies that can really focus on the needs of their patients. But then, peanut butter and jelly, that we fit together, I think, really nicely. But for those, I don't know who wants to talk a little bit about, for those unfamiliar with MED-EL, talk a little bit, you guys aren't a newcomer to this space, and talk a little bit about the implant industry, and what does bimodal mean, and why is it a necessity to have a hearing aid manufacturer as a partner?
Krista, maybe I'll take the first part, okay. Talk a little bit about MED-EL, and then I'll let you take the bimodal piece. I think for MED-EL, so we've been around 30 plus years. I think, very culturally very similar to Starkey in that we're a founder-owned company, a founder-led company. In our case currently, our founder is also the inventor of our technology. Ingeborg Hochmeier is, I don't think is an overstatement to say, is an icon in the CI world.
Legend, yeah.
A legend in the CI world. And she and her husband invented the technology, started the company, and I think probably the second largest cochlear implant company in the world. And we had an opportunity, I think, to improve the offering for our patients in this bimodal space.
And just to add to John's comments, I think with bimodal, we have our MED-EL recipients out there that are often wearing different brands of hearing aids or no hearing aid at all. And I think, again, as the group that you're saying with audiologists watching this podcast, the benefit of having 2 ears, functioning 2 ears, that the bimodal capability just adds to the ability to stream, have our products pair together in a unique way and offer a unique solution that doesn't exist today in the industry.
Yeah, and the comment about Dr. Hochmeyer, I mean, I first knew her actually prior to when MED-EL existed as a company, and it was while I was at Mayo, and with one of my mentors, Darryl Rose, was very active along with Dr. George Facer, pioneers in early days in the implant world on the clinical side and surgical side. But she came to Mayo when we were working with the extracochlear implant, the Vienna 3M device that was one of the early day devices. And it's kind of mind-blowing to me to think about, in those days we talked about, well, you know, for someone who was a profound hearing loss individual, an individual with profound hearing loss, that maybe if you had a familiar talker on the other end of a phone using a closed set of words, you might be able to convey some messages back and forth. And now it's mind-boggling to me that, you know, you're talking about, Krista, that the implant recipients would benefit from being able to stream with audio, acoustic energy in one ear and electric in the other,
yes,
as they're watching movies or listening to phone calls. It's been nothing short of a modern miracle over the last 30, 40 years with cochlear implants.
It's done nothing but accelerate. You know, as we were speaking earlier today, you know, one of the topics that always comes up is, you know, we've talked about, you know, a made for iPhone situation, but, you know, one of the things that's driving our whole industry is the billions and billions of personal computers that everybody carries as their iPhone, and the speed with which those chips are able to operate. And it allows us to do things that 30 years ago were unthinkable, right? It's just, and you know, now we're talking about streaming to two different devices and having them in sync and having people be able to localize their sound. So it is truly a remarkable run for the technology, for both technologies.
Yeah, and to think about the brain's ability to integrate that acoustic and electric input, not only for the purposes of identifying that a sound is present, recognizing it as speech, or, you know, in the presence of noise too, and it's gotten in better and better, as you say, John, over the years. But then to be able to think about spatial awareness and localization. I mean, whether you wear one hearing aid or one cochlear implant, it doesn't help with locating the sound in space. But even in the bimodal case or bilateral, if they're wearing two implants, but what would be the advantage of bimodal beyond that spatial awareness in terms of the user experience for the implanted patient?
So I think the benefit again is that synchronization. I think a lot of, you know, recipients will say the lack of an echo, just a better environment and sound especially. And I think, as you know, we talk about the need for our cochlear implant recipients to get out in noisy environments and other environments and to get out of that isolation and other areas, but also have the bimodal ability.
Yeah. Is it still the case, I know for a long time it was the case, that sound quality for music is better with bimodal than it is with either one implant or even with two? But I'd like to just expand on that a little bit, because I know increasingly a lot of times bilateral implants, if someone certainly has no residual hearing in the non-implanted first ear, you know, that's going to be the ear that it's done. But then if the other ear also has no functional acoustic hearing, bilateral implants are becoming the norm. But is it still the case, are there some advantages of bimodal versus either a single implant or even two implants?
Yes, I think with bimodal, again, you don't have to wait to become severe to profound to get an implant on the second side. You can get that amplification, and that's where the bimodal piece is really important. To be a cochlear implant candidate, you actually have to have worn a hearing aid or had to have been tested in that space. But I think it opens up the ability to have the best experience as through your hearing aid journey, your hearing loss journey.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges has always been sort of this awareness of the improvements in the implant world. And a lot of audiologists, there shouldn't be a hearing aid audiologist and a cochlear implant audiologist. And I like to say that I've worked in environments where we shared lunch across the electric acoustic divide, but we often didn't share patients. I mean, you often had the hearing aid audiologist working on one side and the implant audiologist working on the other side. I'm seeing some of those barriers go away more, though.
No, exactly. I think that's what my team sees, but I think it's important that we address everybody, and I think that's another great advantage of the partnership is we have the ability with both of the Starkey and MED-EL teams to speak to the hearing aid audiologists, the implant audiologists, and they are becoming both as well. I think you see the cochlear implant recipients going to, they'll have the ability to go to the hearing aid audiologist with the solution that we've put in place will be very easy for them to connect with the bimodal piece, as well as educate more, cochlear implant audiologists on the Starkey technology. I think that's a place where we continue to be really impressed with the Starkey technology and feel our customers will be as well.
Yeah, for sure. And because as somebody that still sees patients, and I think it's now the case that more adults are being implanted than children on any given year. And one of the most difficult and burdensome responsibilities that an audiologist faces, like me, who's working primarily in the hearing aid spaces, knowing when that person needs to cross the chasm, where they're not getting the benefit from, because in the old days, we waited really until they were functionally deaf. Right. And now we've seen the improvements, but I think this partnership is really going to go a long ways too for educating both sides about the technologies and assisting those patients as long as my Mayo history shows the needs of the patient are the only interests that matter. And as long as we focus on how they're going to benefit the most, I think that's always the prize. And I think with that ability to not be thinking about, as two privately held companies, the shareholders, to worry about the end of a budget year. Now, we all have to run profitable companies, but as well, I think this partnership really has the potential to move beyond this first DualSync a goal of synchronizing both of the devices to an iPhone and soon Android as well. Already some Android phones are working, but we want to really make sure that we're approaching this in a measured and purposeful pace.
Yeah, that's been one of the really refreshing things to find about the partnership is how similarly we think about cochlear implant candidates. I think both companies see it as a healthcare decision, right? Yeah. It's like it's not a device decision. It's what's best for the patient, and I think as long as we keep that top of mind, that first do no harm piece, right? It's like that seems to be a commonality that the two companies work from, and I think that's going to steer us in the right direction. And there's been a lot of good research lately about what a cochlear implant candidate looks like and how you identify somebody that would benefit at least going through the counseling process, right, and kind of understanding what their options are, and understanding that getting a cochlear implant isn't the end of their any functional acoustic hearing that they may have, whether it's on the side to be implanted or the side that could be supported with a hearing aid. That electrical and acoustic hearing can work very closely together with some of the technologies that MED-EL has combined with what Starkey has.
Mm-hmm. Well, the technology that MED-EL has had for deep insertion, you are still the manufacturer with the device that offers the soft insertion technique, and also because of that enables it to be able to go really much farther, closer to the apex than the competitors. What's important about that?
No, it's very important. So we offer an individualized approach with our implant selection. So we look at it as every cochlea is different and you have different lengths in your anatomy, similar to how people have different shoe sizes. Sure. That's something, analogy we use quite often. And so we're able to look at a candidate's cochlear duct length, and then we have implants, as you said, that match the length of that duct length to give them the best outcome. And then when we go to our fitting, we do what's called an anatomy-based fitting. Then again, individualizes the fitting to that patient. And then we find, again, significant outcomes based on that individualized approach. And then that's where, again, you could have a longer need for an electrode or a shorter need. So then it's just placed in the right area.
Yeah, and that's consistent with our approach too, is really personalization and customization. And I think that's the interesting part too, as somebody interested in the technology and the patient care. The art and the science part of this is looking at what you're doing with AI and what we're doing with AI and DNN, and I think there are lots of possibilities for converging and improving the performance of that patient who's wearing a bimodal setup. And so that's a little bit into the future.
Yes, yes.
And I know initially we're going to have the ability with iPhones with this first phase so that the iPhone will recognize the implant and the hearing aid as a pair. Native controls can be used. They still will initially require 2 separate apps, but the goal would be one app to rule them all, to borrow from Lord of the Rings, I guess. But we know that convenience for the user experience for those patients who want that connectivity is important.
And I think going back to the individualization, I think the different models that'll be available with Starkey will be unique in the industry as a partnership, and we're really excited about the offering that you're providing for customers on that piece as well.
It's been really fun. We've had our teams getting together today to sort of introduce each other on the organization, on the sales side and the training side, and to discuss some things that maybe we see that we've had for a while, but your team hasn't really seen with the health and wellness features. Right. And I think one of the aha moments for me from the morning was the features that we've had with a fall detection and fall alerting feature, and the balance training steady protocol that we've incorporated into our devices are particularly relevant to those patients who might be implant wearers, because we know the comorbidity between hearing and balance gets more pronounced with increasing hearing loss. And so that was kind of eye-opening to sort of see the excitement and enthusiasm in the room for some of the technologies, not only the streaming, not only the processing, but also even thinking about the health and wellness aspects.
No, it's been exciting to see the team's reaction and excited to share with others out there about the Starkey technology. I know, my team is overly excited and said, what, we now know why Starkey, why the partnership, so we can talk about the technology and the technical pieces, but to see the reaction of the teams and the excitement about just and how well the two products blend together.
Yeah, I think
exciting.
You're bringing up the why is great. I think Nietzsche said, if a person understands their why, you can withstand any how or what. And I think that really is my excitement about all of this too, because it is going to bring additional competition and benefits with the idea of providing that bimodal solution. And it does bring mind a question, and I'm popping this as a surprise question, but do you know the distribution in the U.S. right now of people that are fitted with one implant versus bilateral versus bimodal?
I think those numbers continue to change and grow. I believe over about 50% of the implant recipients are bimodal today.
Wow.
I think it's something that's really increased over the last 10 years, and that's where I think, to John's comment, of a lot of our people were asking, when are we going to have this partnership, because that is something, as indications have changed from that standpoint. I think, bilateral, I would say, is closer to like the 10-15%. I think we see a lot in pediatrics, but as well as then we have a single-sided deafness population that's growing for cochlear implants as well.
Yeah, and I think that's also a key driver of this effort for the two companies. I mean, one of the innovations that MED-EL brought to the U.S. is the first indication for single-sided deafness, cochlear implants for single-sided deafness. So we have a huge group of patients that we've treated over the years that could take advantage of a partnership like this. And we're still viewed, because of the things that Krista spoke of with deep cochlear implant insertions and our anatomy-based fitting, we're still viewed as kind of the cutting edge of treatment for the SSD patient. Yeah. And our ability to offer something to the untreated ear, to the non-surgically treated ear, I think really rounds out the offering for what is kind of viewed as the SSD leader. So that's it's another reason that our customers are so excited about this.
Yeah, and even that SSD application, we know that by the time you reach the age of 70, and I know, it's amazing to me the patients, as I'm entering into my golden era now, but the number of patients 70, 80, even 90 years of age that are getting implanted, because I think this partnership is going to help with raising awareness for the importance of healthy hearing by any means at any point of life. And some of those SSD patients may start to lose hearing over time. 2/3 of us are going to have a loss, acoustic loss, by the time we reach the age of 70. So even somebody that got implanted on one side earlier eventually may need some help with those high frequency acoustic sounds.
Right, exactly.
So I know that our customers are going to be asking, and I'm sure yours are as well, is okay, it's great to hear about this, but when is it a reality?
So the reality that is right in front of us now is July 1st. We expect to have the app available in your favorite app store on July 1st, and as as has been both companies' driving mission in this, is to make it as simple and quick and easy as possible. So it'll be available for quick and easy adoption. We've made sure that nobody has to necessarily visit their CI audiologist to take advantage of the bimodal streaming. So App Store availability on July 1st, and then the fun begins.
Yeah. And stay tuned, because there's a lot of things planned for the future too, and I know patients are going to benefit from it, clinicians are going to benefit from it. The awareness that this brings for the importance of healthy hearing is all going to be beneficiaries directly from this partnership. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
It's my pleasure. So for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, people who might be interested in the discussion around cochlear implants and hearing aids and the combination of those two. Hopefully you learned a little bit about bimodal amplification and why we're so excited about this partnership. If you have ideas for future topics on Sound Bites, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Until then, we'll look to see and hear you again soon.